Yeah, this is something a little different. This is that Alpha Master Pimp Sir EZ, active dominant, sadist, upper metaphysical philosopher, or whatever else you would figure this cartoon character image of whom I am is, reporting to you live from the bowels of what I call hell, most call DC. And I found this to be a nice, interesting moment to talk about this new evolution and freedom that's being invented, but it's not yet quite perfected enough to take it out into the rest of the world and allow everybody to utilize it. It's called change, and change is something that comes with tolerance. Tolerance is something that comes with evolution. Evolution is something that comes with understanding. Understanding comes with something called belief, and belief is something that becomes spirituality, and spirituality becomes your morality, and your morality becomes the reason why you can't be adults and live by the rules that conduct themselves in any municipality around this earth, unlike the rural areas where people live and breathe, you know, a regular 9-to-5 life. And therefore, a lot of what I'm saying here has to do with that dream, or that dream deferred, when it comes to what happens to us as we are now black and battered than ever, and kinky and everything else, now along with everybody else of every other color, race, and creed that now have gained their emancipation from their own moralities and allowed to become as metrosexual as they want to be. Well, with all that being said, the hardest thing to be done is tolerance or allowance. Well, DC has got it down to a small science, only because there are people that have been more gallantly placed into this environment to handle the world's business as it still exists within this country. And so it offers a different kind of image of what a lot of people on the outside of the rest of the world who live in a state, in a city, in a county, and a borough, and you know, whatnot, a social order or anything else of that nature, are stuck with. But now we're in this environment where it becomes more difficult for people to be able to tolerate the existence of everything, including LBGT, black, or other. And therefore leads a lot of other problems, because, well, we still ain't freed everybody. We still ain't gave up on this distaste for certain people that we've grown to dislike the way they complain so much about the way that they are treated, just because they're uniquely black, of color, or other. And maybe that's something that everybody has to just sit back and not think about themselves, but put themselves in shoes they can't fit. And deal with all of it. And consider that the only possibility that we have right now is to understand that we still have not freed each other from the stigmas that we were produced as, because nobody came here pure. Nobody's pure today enough to be able to proclaim any supremacy over any other person on a one-to-one basis today. Not because of yesterday, but today. And yet and still, here we are in this matrix, and half of the people that have the ability to understand what happens here are still quite distant from its existence, because you're lucky enough to live in a city, in a state, in a borough. You know? Kind of like, you know, how a New Yorker feels when they play that native New Yorker song, the long version, and they listen. With all that being said, the things that I felt needed to get off my head were just a mere fact that in having a vivid memory of things that existed from 1962 to 2016 is no small feat. And yet and still, you know, for people of color like myself, you can't earn them props on a day-to-day basis when people try to come at you with whatever they feel their existence is above you. And being black, being dominant, being intelligent is more of a discomfort more than, in more cases, that others can consider themselves stuck with. Like the black guy that finally walks up to Donald Trump, to his face, and says, "You know what? Kiss my ass. Cracker ass, cracker." And everybody in the whole country agrees. And yet and still here we are in this Americanized mentality trying to act like we need to be more educated about this bullshit that Black Lives really matter exists with. Not because it's Black Lives, but because every person of color matters just like everyone else. And until people see them for a rich resource that they are, more than a social discomfort they have to deal with. Okay, let the black person have a job. Go on, man. I'm good where I'm at. I sit here in a satanic amusement park watching people evolve into something. I've got neighbors that have been living on this block for 78 years, and they're black. I mean, they're bliggity black, ghetto black. This is the same location that the infamous Rayford Edmonds distributed 2 tons of cocaine a week for 2.5 years. And yet and still, nobody really cares about that feat more than the mere fact that at a certain time in our existence here in America, especially in the inner cities, that shit existed in pounds and ounces and grams. So what did that make? Now that we're stuck with the existence of more crack babies that are now crack adults, that are living with crack mamas and crack daddies that just tried it a little while, and somewhere in there they lost their minds enough to make them and be stuck with those other kids that are almost the same age as they are mentally. Yeah, we got a lot to deal with as Black Lives Matter, because each and every one of us are uniquely different, but that's what makes us so much more special. And until we invest into the richness of the quality of our people of color, then this country can't be what it wants to be, because this country ain't about y'all, it's about us. No offense to anybody else, but that's US. And it only gets worse when we try to actually exist with other people, when we try to find other mates, other partners, other friends, other social gatherings that we can be accepted with if we so choose to exist in an alternative life or lifestyle, that it becomes most difficult to exist in a state of understanding, because, well, who can understand some shit that you can't really get with? I'm Alpha Master Pimp, active, dominant, sadist, poet and philosopher, and some other bullshit. Just getting some shit off my chest.